You don't struggle to sleep because you're not tired. You struggle because the moment everything goes quiet, your mind finally gets loud. You're lying there, lights off, phone face down. The room is still, and somehow that stillness feels unsafe. Your body is exhausted, heavy, almost sinking into the bed. But your mind is alert, watchful, like it's waiting for something bad to happen. You tell yourself you should be asleep by now. That thought alone wakes you up even more. You replay the day, not the whole thing, just the parts that hurt a little, or confused you, or made you wonder if you said the wrong thing. You hear your own voice in those moments, then you hear theirs. Then you imagine what you should have said instead. Your jaw tightens, your chest feels busy, your breath changes without you noticing, and there it is. That familiar loop. You turn to your side, then the other side. You adjust the pillow like it might fix something deeper. Sleep feels close, but not close enough to trust. You don't fall asleep gently. You hover near it like you're afraid to let go. Because letting go means not monitoring everything anymore. And some part of you believes that if you stop monitoring, something will slip through. So you stay awake, not on purpose, not consciously. It just happens. You think about tomorrow, not in a hopeful way, in a preventative way. You imagine conversations that haven't happened yet. You prepare explanations. You rehearse defenses. Not because you want conflict, but because you want to avoid being caught off guard. Your mind keeps asking the same quiet question. What if you misunderstood something? What if someone misunderstood you? What if that small moment earlier meant more than you think? The room stays dark. Time stretches. You check the clock even though you promised yourself you wouldn't. Seeing the time makes everything worse. Now there's pressure. You calculate how many hours of sleep you'll get if you fall asleep right now. Then you try to force sleep, which never works. Your thoughts start to feel slippery, unstructured, emotional without being clear. Old memories drift in, not dramatic ones, small ones that look someone gave you years ago. A sentence that ended strangely, a moment you never fully understood. Your brain treats these memories like unfinished business. It wants closure. At midnight, in the dark. You wonder why your mind saves these moments for nighttime, why they don't bother you as much during the day. It's because during the day you're distracted, protected by noise, movement, other people's expectations. That night there's nowhere to hide. Your mind isn't trying to hurt you. It's trying to make sense of everything while you're finally still, but it doesn't know when to stop. So it keeps going, thought after thought, scenario after scenario. Your body wants rest, your mind wants resolution, and neither gets what it wants. You feel tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. A deep tiredness, an emotional heaviness. Sometimes you drift off for a few minutes. Then you wake up suddenly, heart racing, as if you forgot something important. You lie there confused, half dreaming, half alert. Your thoughts feel louder at night. But really, they're just no longer competing with anything else. The silence amplifies everything. You notice things you ignore during the day. The way your chest feels tight when you think about certain people. The way your stomach reacts to uncertainty. The subtle fear of being misunderstood. You don't think of it as fear. It feels more like vigilance. Like if you stay awake long enough, you can prevent future pain. Like sleep is a risk you haven't fully earned. There are nights when you finally fall asleep just before morning. And when you wake up, it feels unfair, like you were just starting to rest. Your dreams are vivid, busy, sometimes exhausting. You wake up already thinking, already analyzing. And people assume you didn't sleep because of caffeine, or screens, or bad habits. They don't see the quiet work your mind does when no one is watching. They don't see how hard it is for you to power down. Because your mind doesn't have an off switch. It has a dimmer. And at night, someone keeps turning it up. You've probably tried telling yourself to stop thinking. You already know how useless that is. Thoughts don't respond to commands. They respond to safety. And nighttime doesn't always feel safe to you. Not because anything is wrong, but because nighttime removes distractions. It puts you face to face with yourself. And there are parts of yourself you don't get to ignore in the dark. So breathing, thinking, waiting, wondering why sleep feels so complicated for you, wondering why rest seems easy for other people and heavy for you. You don't talk about this much because it sounds small when you say it out loud. I just have trouble sleeping. But what you mean is something deeper. You mean your mind refuses to rest until everything makes sense. And the world rarely makes sense enough, so the night stretches on. And you stay awake with your thoughts, not because you want to, but because you don't know how not to. There's a moment late at night, usually after you've tried everything. When the resistance softens, you stop trying to sleep and just lie there, your thoughts slow. Not because they're done, but because you're too tired to chase them. That's usually when something honest slips through. A realization you've been avoiding. A feeling you didn't name during the day. A quiet sadness you kept busy to ignore. It doesn't announce itself. It just sits with you. You might feel a heaviness behind your eyes. Not quite tears, just pressure. You think about how much you hold inside. How many thoughts you carry alone. How often you replay things because you don't feel fully heard when they happen. How often you imagine saying what you really meant long after the moment has passed. Your mind isn't racing now. It's reflecting. And that reflection can be more tiring than chaos. This is the part of the night where you feel most exposed. No defenses, no distractions, just you. And the truth that you're always thinking a little more than you let on. Eventually, sleep comes. Not like a switch flipping, more like a fog rolling in. You don't notice the exact moment you drift off, you just stop resisting. And when morning arrives, it feels abrupt. Like someone pulled you out of a deep place too quickly. You wake up carrying the weight of the night with you. Even if you can't remember the thoughts clearly, they leave a residue. A tiredness that isn't just physical. And yet, when night comes again, the same pattern waits for you. Because your mind hasn't learned yet that it's allowed to rest. That it doesn't have to solve everything before sleeping. That not every thought needs an answer tonight. That some things can wait until morning. And maybe one night, instead of fighting the thoughts, you'll let them pass like background noise. Not engaging. Not resisting, just noticing. And in that quiet noticing, something loosens, not a solution. Not a breakthrough. Just a small sense of relief, like your mind finally exhaled. And as you lie there, half awake, half asleep, you realize something gently. You weren't broken. You were just listening too closely in the silence. And tonight, maybe that silence doesn't have to be so loud. Maybe it can hold you, just enough, so you can rest. The night feels different when you've already been awake too long. It's quieter somehow, not peaceful, just thin. Like the world has stepped back and left you alone with your thoughts on purpose. Your body is still tired, but now there's a second layer. A mental tiredness that feels heavier than sleep deprivation. Your thoughts slow down, but they don't stop. They become softer, more emotional, less logical. This is when your mind starts asking questions it avoids during the day. Questions without answers. Questions without edges. You wonder why certain things affect you so deeply, why small moments stay with you. Why silence from someone can echo for hours. You don't frame it as insecurity. It feels more like unfinished understanding, like your mind is trying to read between lines that were never fully written. At night, your thoughts stop pretending to be productive. They reveal what they really are, worry dressed as preparation, reflection disguised as control. Alertness mistaken for responsibility. You notice how your body reacts to certain thoughts. A tightening, a warmth, a sinking feeling. Your body remembers things your mind tries to intellectualize. You think about people you care about. Not in a romantic way, in a fragile way. You replay conversations, not because you want to relive them, but because you want to feel understood inside them. You imagine saying one more sentence, just one. The sentence that would have explained everything perfectly, but it's always too late. And your mind knows that. So it keeps the scene alive. Sometimes you imagine future nights. You imagine still lying awake months from now, thinking about different things, but feeling the same way. That realization scares you a little. Not dramatically, quietly, you wonder if your mind will ever feel rested, not asleep. Rested, there's a difference. Sleep is unconscious. Rest is permission. And permission is hard for you. Because rest feels undeserved when things are unresolved. When people might be upset. When outcomes are uncertain. Your mind treats rest like a reward, not a necessity. So it withholds it. You notice how alert you feel to emotional shifts, even imaginary ones. You can sense disappointment before it's spoken, distance before it's confirmed, rejection before it's real. At night, those sensitivities get louder. You imagine worst-case scenarios, not catastrophes, subtle things. Someone pulling away, someone misunderstanding your intention, someone deciding you're too much or not enough. These thoughts don't shout, they whisper, which makes them harder to ignore. You try to distract yourself, counting breaths, listening to background noise, letting your mind wander on purpose. But wandering always leads back to the same places. Places where you question yourself, your tone, your timing, your presence in other people's lives. You don't think you're unworthy, you just think you're complicated. And you worry that complication costs you rest. There's a strange intimacy to these late-night thoughts. They feel honest, unfiltered, like the version of you that exists when no one is watching. During the day, you manage, you function, you respond. At night, you process, and processing takes time. Sometimes you feel a wave of sadness without a clear reason, not sharp, dull. It sits in your chest, heavy, patient. You don't cry, you don't panic. You just feel. And that feeling doesn't want to be fixed. It wants to be acknowledged, but you're not sure how to acknowledge something without naming it. So you lie there, letting it exist. Your breathing changes again, slower now, deeper. Your thoughts drift to childhood nights. Lying awake then too, listening to sounds, imagining meanings. You realize this isn't new. You've always been like this, sensitive to silence, alert in the dark. Night has always been when your inner world wakes up. And maybe that's why sleep has never come easily. Because sleep asks you to turn away from the inner world. And you've spent your life listening to it. There's a moment when you stop trying to understand yourself. You're too tired. That's when acceptance slips in quietly. Not acceptance of answers, acceptance of questions. You don't need to solve everything tonight. You don't need to replay every interaction. The thoughts still come. But they don't grip you as tightly. They pass through, like background static instead of alarms. Your body softens. Not fully, but enough. You feel the mattress supporting you, the room holding you. You realize how rarely you feel held by anything, even by yourself. This realization doesn't hurt. It comforts you because it explains why nights feel so intense. They're the only time you stop holding everything up. Your mind finally loosens its grip. Thoughts blur. Edges soften. You're not asleep yet. But you're not fighting anymore. And that shift matters. Because the problem was never that you think too much. It's that you think alone at night, you're with yourself, fully. No masks, no explanations, just awareness. And awareness is exhausting. As sleep approaches, your thoughts lose their narrative. They become images, sensations. A feeling of being tired in a deep way. A feeling of wanting rest without conditions. You don't make promises to yourself. You don't resolve anything. You simply let the night pass through you. Sleep arrives quietly, almost respectfully, and in that moment before you fully drift off, there's a soft realization. Your sleeplessness isn't a flaw. It's a sign of how deeply you feel, how closely you listen, how seriously you take meaning. That doesn't make nights easy, but it makes them understandable. And understanding brings a kind of peace, not the loud kind, the gentle kind, the kind that lets your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, the kind that doesn't demand sleep, but invites it. And as you finally rest, there's nothing to fix, nothing to solve, just a quiet permission to stop thinking for now.